Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Obede Wakusi. I'm the presenter for this particular channel, and this particular channel is the next Vusi, and we are kind of imitating what this man has been doing for the world. Currently, he's the, um, I mean, the world's public speaking champion. He has won it back to back twice, so I find it quite imperative for also share his messages across. And so, please, if you really want us to continue with whatever that you are doing, I would want you to help me with you subscribing and then also uh, hitting the notification bell. And as well, if you like, comment also so that I would know what and when to do things, right? And then also, the last one you have to share for me. We did the first phase of the untold truth of the West, right? That is the theme for this particular message. And so, this is the second version of it. And I would want you to, take a very good look at whatever that you're doing. And if you're in support of it, let me know. Thank you very much. Fire made the material life of man much better. It increased his life expectancy, allowed him to warm up in the cold nights and create light in the dark evenings. It allowed him to fend off much larger, much stronger predators. Fire changes the material nature of man's existence on earth. Now, fast forward a couple of centuries or two, or even a couple of century thousands. You're in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, the idea of the nation state is given birth. You see, before then, man existed in these things called smaller tribes. You know, when you read the book, the theory of 21, how tribes emerged, because without a complex management system, you couldn't manage more than 21 people at a time. You know, when you read the history books, how do you combine smaller tribes? You would have to conquer them, right? Conquering them means war. War is a dirty business. But who wins wars? Those that have better armies and superior technology. As a proud Asante man, I was taught about the Battle of Yasantua, one of the greatest queen mother of my people, the Asantes, a strong regiment of 20,000 Asante soldiers, just to fight over 1,800 British men. We were part of this as Asantes because it was the first and only time the British were ever defeated by an army that was not carrying conventional arms. And yet, the truth is, the Asantes only just won that war. How is it possible that arguably the best trained army regiment ever in the history of Homo sapiens on this little rock called planet Earth were nearly defeated by an army from Britain a tenth of its size? It's possible because the Brits had a superior technology, whereas the Asantes has to get close with new spears. The Brits could use guns and cannon. The gun and the cannon changed the history of mankind. In fact, you might argue, but then it brought us to where we are today as human civilization. Fast forward a couple of hundred more years, the invention of the ship meant that man could now transport goods and services from a particular location through the waters, through the invention of ship through waters. The Wright brothers invented the very principle of flight you and I use today to move from one place to the other on a metal seal that goes really fast and flies above the weather. The invention of electricity meant that after the Industrial Revolution, where man existed in his own subsistence, man could now create goods and services and sell it in a market outside his own environment. Now, the five milestones that I've mentioned that have shaped the journey of the world. In fact, you might argue, but then it brought us to where we are today as human civilization. I may want to ask this question: how many of them come from this continent? In my own view, is that we, these young entrepreneurs, need to be told the different truth. And the truth is, your job is not to grow turnover by 100%, employ marginally more people, increase your EBITDA, reduce your weighted cost average of capital. Your job is to rewrite the history of this continent. Your job is to get onto a stage, right, and say whether or not it comes from Silicon Valley or Silicon Nairobi, it comes from Methodist or Christos of Mission of Ghana. It too matters. It too matters. I love our continent of thing. You know, I would I would want to move around the continent when I grow up, or even when I get money, right? But for me, there's one thing that I'm most sad about, and I think it's something that is at the heart of most people who are pushing in for Africa, is that all these years, post our liberation, we still continue to think of ourselves in our ideas of nation states, that we form our identity with who we are by our ethnicity, that we don't realize that we live in arguably the best and the largest market area ever in the history of Homo sapiens on this little world called planet Earth. One of my maps visited me while he said he was in Ghana about 5 years ago. And then he met this amazing young lady. I mean, this lady makes bags with Ghanaian patterns. In fact, it is the pattern of the La people who lives and comes from the area known as Labadi. If you don't know the story of why it's called Labadi, it's because the La people in that part of Accra were the first and only people to understand that the colonizers who came with nefarious purpose, right? So they didn't want to trade with them. They said they are the bad ones, the bad people. Labadi. Interesting story. But this young lady makes bags with Ghanaian patterns, and then he bought one of the bags, and then he went back to South Africa, and then he gave it to his wife. And the wife was very happy. She was fulfilled. And then the wife asked him, where can she buy another? And then he told her that I don't know. She's in Accra. But if that lady was in Boston, Massachusetts, traveled to the other side of Los Angeles, it would have been easy for her to move her goods from her part to his part. Our greatest challenge as Africans today is to connect each other to each other. And so I want to say, well done on your journey, whoever that is watching. Congratulations on whatever that you've done. But then just understand that yours and my journey only begins now. The history of this continent will be written 100 years from today, and the true question that will be asked is whose name will resonate in those books? When they tell the story of Rome, they talk about great emperors that brought the civilization to what it is now. Who will we be in 100 years' time? Who amongst us would dare build an institution that will by far outlive yours and my meager existence? Because the very challenge that has brought us to where we are today as Africans is that we've got leaders that have not been able to think beyond their own lifetimes. You and I perhaps need a different relationship with time. Time, one that transcends the flesh and moves into the spirit and creates for the future.